Hello and welcome to week 5 assignment of NPTEL session for live session of NPTEL for the course Modern Indian Architecture. The course instructor for this course is Professor Prabhajit Singh Chani, and I am the NPTEL course TA for the course, Shreya Shukla. We will just wait for 5 minutes for anyone else to join, and then we will start with the session. We will just wait for 5 minutes for others to join, and then we will start the session. Okay, so we have waited for 5 minutes. We will start with the session now. Others can join in between, or they can later access the video that will be uploaded on YouTube. So, hello and again welcome everyone for the live session for Modern Indian Architecture. Today we will be doing previous year assignments of week 5. Uh, yeah. So we all know the course outline. In this entire course, what has been taught. This is the timeline that has been followed in this course, and the course objectives were to understand the evolution of modern architecture in India with the help of understanding of structure, function, and form. Individual Go through the individual works of iconic architects to understand their design approach, various forces that impacted modern Indian architecture, the upcoming concepts, and other kinds of various building typology concepts and ideas that students can directly use in their design studios. So today we will be doing week 5, previous year assignment of week 5. I would like to emphasize on this that here we do not do this year's assignment. We only we only go through the previous year assignments. So today we will be doing week 5 assignments, previous years, and the course that was covered in week 5 included impact of Western architects of Walter Gropius part 2. In week 4 part 1 was covered of Walter Gropius, and then 4 parts of the impact of Louis I. Khan on Indian architecture, in which there were case study of his work at IIM Ahmedabad, and also various examples of other architects that were influenced by Louis I. Khan, and who took his principle in account and his ideas and his concepts, and designed more buildings in India. So without any further ado, we will get started. So question number 1, the architectural style considered free from the historical and colonial past of India. So there are 4 options given: Bauhaus, Neo-Gothic, Victorian, and Baroque. And the question is asking that which of the following architectural style is considered free from historical and colonial past of India. So to answer this question, we'll just briefly go over these architectural styles to just understand what these styles actually are. So Gothic style, it was mentioned Neo-Gothic. So Neo-Gothic is also called Gothic Revival. So Gothic Revival or Neo-Gothic, it is an architectural movement that began in the second half of the 17th century. Gothic Revival draws upon features of medieval examples, including decorative patterns, lancet windows, towering heights, large windows, and pointed arches. The main difference between Gothic architecture and Gothic Revival architecture are the time periods in which they were built and the material and building methods available at the time and size. Medieval Gothic architecture was revived to supersede the neoclassical style, and the Gothic Revival movement's roots are intertwined with philosophical movements associated with Catholicism. So what happened was, when neoclassicism was on rise and neoclassicism was taken in account, there was the notion that happened that neoclassicism was being associated with liberalism. So that's why some of the groups, they brought back the Gothic style to establish the idea of associated with Catholicism in Christianity, and they did so because this Gothic architecture style, what was the main style of churches around at that time. So reviving that style represented the conservativeness, which was in opposed to the liberalism that was being represented by neoclassicism. And the difference between the Gothic architecture, the real Gothic period, and the Gothic Revival architecture, when Gothic architecture was revived again in around 17th and 18th century. The difference in these two buildings, because very similar elements are used, but the main difference was that the kind of material that were used. For example, in the Gothic Revival period, the buildings used stone and other things, and while in the Gothic period, mainly woodwork they were focused on. Another thing was the size. The Gothic Revival buildings are massive, and they're huge in size because of the development of technology by that time as compared to the Gothic architecture buildings. Then Victorian architecture. So Victorian architecture is not just one style. It is a series of architectural revival styles in the mid to late 19th century. Victorian basically refers to the reign of Queen Victoria from 1837 to 1901, and it is called the Victorian era because Queen Victoria ruled around that time, and during which period the styles known as Victorian were used in construction. So it is not just one style, but around that time, around the Victorian era, all the styles that were happening, all the revival styles that were happening were called Victorian style architecture. Even Gothic revival or Neo-Gothic is a part of Victorian architecture. Then Baroque architecture. Baroque architecture is a highly decorative and theatrical style which appeared in Italy in the early 17th century, and it gradually spread across Europe. Baroque architects took the basic elements like domes and colonnades and made them higher, grander, more decorated and more dramatic. Uh, Other elements that are a part of Baroque are clusters of sculpted angels and painted figures on ceiling, light used for dramatic effect, twisted columns used to give an illusion of upward motion, use of grand stairways in palaces, etc. Now coming to Bauhaus. So Bauhaus was a German art school which was operational from 1919 to 1933 that combined crafts which included architecture and sculpture and other things and the fine arts. The school became famous for its approach to design, which attempted to unify individual artistic vision with the principles of mass production and emphasis on function. The Bauhaus was founded by architect Walter Gropius in Weimar. It was grounded in the idea of creating a comprehensive artwork in which all the arts would eventually be brought together. So his idea was to bring all kinds of creative fields like art, craft, architecture, sculpting, everything together, and that is how he established this Bauhaus School of Architecture. The Bauhaus style later became one of the most influential currents in modern design, modernist architecture and architectural education. And one of the most important part about Bauhaus was that this style or this movement focused on function, in which they didn't want to focus, not that they didn't want to, that they discarded the form completely, but the focus was more on the function, that the building, what is the need, what is the requirement is fulfilled first. So this is what this meant. So if you compare Bauhaus with the other three styles that have been mentioned, you can see that all these three styles that have been mentioned over here, they have a very strong attachment with aesthetics, how the building is actually looking, more than the actual functioning or the working of the building. However, in Bauhaus, it's completely different. The facades were plain. It was very rectangular. Sometimes corner elements were used. Very geometrical shapes were used. Very different kind of geometrical shapes and very different kind of facade. Non-ornamentation and other things were very common in Bauhaus, because the main point was to actually design a place that was more functional, that fulfilled the need. So our answer is Bauhaus. The architecture style which is considered free from historical and colonial past of India is Bauhaus, and not just in India, as compared to any other places also, uh, it's Bauhaus. And another reason why it is Bauhaus is detached from the colonial past of India is because Bauhaus came in India after India got its independence. So till India got its independence, all of the architecture was influenced by the Britishers around there, by the Britishers who were ruling our country at that time, and so whatever styles were happening in Europe and then moving on to America, they were being brought down in India, and that was how it was happening over here. So all these architecture styles, Neo-Gothic and Victorian and Baroque, these were very common in Europe, especially in England. So these all styles were reflected somehow in Indian architecture also. But because after our independence, then modern architects came into role. Although it was a lot of Bauhaus started in Europe, it started in Germany, but because Bauhaus was brought to India after our independence, that means it was free from our colonial past. It was free from the reigns of Britishers at that time. Bauhaus was brought to India by the modern Indian architects who either studied in Western countries and then started practicing in India, or various other Western architects who came to India to design a few buildings, who were invited to design a few buildings. So our answer is Bohas. Question number 2. A.P. Kanvinde and Habib Rahman studied under this Bohas architect: Mies van der Rohe, Walter Gropius, Marcel Breuer, and Johannes Itten. So, Walter Gropius is credited with the uh, start of Bauhaus movement. He even established the school of Bauhaus in Weimar. So we'll just go through a few facts about Walter Gropius. So his full name is Walter Adolf George Gropius. He was born in 1883 and he died in 1969. He was a German-American architect and he was founder of the Bauhaus school. He is widely regarded as one of the pioneering masters of modernist architecture. He is a founder of Bauhaus in Weimar, 1990, Germany. Gropius was also a leading architect of international style. His education included College of Technology Berlin and Munich till 1907. He trained under Peter Behrens from 1907. He partnership with Adolf Meyer in 1910, and he served as director of Bauhaus from 1919. He moved to US and founded the Architects Collaborative in 1945 in Cambridge. He is credited with the introduction of modernist architecture to US through his design of the Gropius House and his teaching at Harvard University. So Habib Rahman studied under Walter Gropius at MIT and Kanvinde at Harvard. So he was teaching in one of these universities, Harvard or MIT, I'm not sure which one is which, and he was also taking lectures in the other university. So that's how Habib Rahman and Kanvinde both have studied under him, because Habib Rahman was at MIT and Kanvinde was at Harvard. They brought Bauhaus into India, and Habib Rahman and Kanvinde are basically credited to bring Bauhaus into India because they learned under Walter Gropius himself. And what the style that they brought, the Bauhaus ideologies and the style that they brought with them, that surpassed even Le Corbusier in bringing modernism into mainstream Indian architecture of the period with their projects. So Le Corbusier had a great impact on Indian modern architecture. However, with the works that Habib Rahman and Kanvinde did and the teachings that they brought over here in India, they brought modernism into mainstream Indian architecture and not just the important buildings or monumental buildings or other kinds of buildings, into mainstream Indian architecture. So they are credited more for it because they brought modernism into the mainstream Indian architecture, and they're the ones who brought Bauhaus to India because they both had studied under Walter Gropius, who is the founder of Bauhaus. So our answer is Walter Gropius. Moving to question number 3. Habib Rahman added these Indian elements in the original Bauhausian design palette of Mazar of Maulana Azad and Zakir Hussain. So Mazar is a Urdu word. Mazar is basically means memorial. So we have 4 options: Jalis, arches, domes; Vedika, Torana and Sopana; Mandapa, Shikhara, Kalash; Diwan, San and Minar. Excuse me. So Habib Rahman studied at MIT and he came to India with his modernist ideologies and specifically influenced by Bauhaus. So in most of his works it was evident that he was following the Bauhaus design palette completely, with facades and linearity and experimenting with geometrical shapes and other points. However, in some of his works, including the Mazar of Maulana Azad and Zakir Hussain, he added a few Indian elements along with his Bohosian style of architecture. So we'll just see how these both buildings look like. So first image is if of the mazar dedicated to Zakir Hussain, and the second picture is the mazar of Maulana Azam. So the mausoleum of former President of India, Zakir Hussain, was designed by Habib Rahman in 1971 and 72. The use of scale and volume, the use of jalis, arches and curved walls is a striking amalgamation of Rahman's Bauhaus influence with Indian traditional forms. So if you look at this image, you can see it's a very modern style of building with very typical facade, but however you can also see a modernized version of arch, a modernized version of jali being used here. The structure comprises of 8 imposing reinforced concrete walls that have been curved, tapered and arranged in a square plan to create an open structure that surrounds a shallow dome and tomb. So if you can see the walls, if you can see in this image, they are all curved. So they are curved reinforced concrete walls and they are tapered and arranged in a square plan. So and then if you look at the Mazar of Maulana Azad, it was created in 1959, and this Mazar was Habib Rahman's interpretation of the traditional arch. Both these things, they give the idea how Bauhaus was integrated with India's cultural and climatic factors, and it gives rise to a hybrid style, and it is prevalent in New Delhi. So why do we say it's because you can see that Bauhaus started in Germany. It was an international style movement, and how it was how Habib Rahman actually with these two examples, how he inculcated it in India was to actually amalgamate with India's culture. And by that we mean here, because we are actually looking at mazar examples of mazar of two really renowned people of our country. So he has used traditional Islamic architectural elements, or you can say Mughal architectural elements, and he has interpreted them in such a way to create a modernist memorial for both of them. So our answer is jalis, arches and domes. Question number 4. Louis I Khan's architectural style can be defined by simple forms and compositions, monumental facades, poetry of light and exposed materials, or all of these. So Louis Isidore Khan was born in 1901 and he died in 1974. He was born in Estonia, and he later became an American architect based in Philadelphia. After working in various capacities for several firms in Philadelphia, he founded his own firm in 1935. While continuing his private practice, he served as a design critic and professor of architecture at Yale School of Architecture from 1947 to 1957. From 1957 until his death, he was a professor of architecture at the School of Design at the University of Pennsylvania. Khan created a style that was monumental and monolithic. His heavy buildings for the most part do not hide their weight, their materials or the way they are assembled. He was awarded the AIA Gold Medal and the RIBA Gold Medal. At the time of his death, he was considered by some as America's foremost living architect. So these are few of the Khan's architectural style philosophies. He was known for the use of simple forms and compositions. So he uses really simple forms, rectangles, circles, triangles. He uses really simple forms and simple geometric forms. But they are simple geometric forms, but they are massive. Massive in the sense that they have a monumental facade, and they are, when you look at the buildings that Khan has created, for example IIM Ahmedabad, you can see how huge they look, and he has given a monumental scale to these buildings. And third is using exposed bricks and concrete, and he developed modern and monumental facades. So with the help of exposed bricks and exposed concretes, with the use of these things, he developed modern and monumental facades, and he infused international style with a highly personal taste, which was inspired by Corbusier, and it led to the creation of poetry of light and exposed materials. So our answer is all of these. Moving on to question number 5. Ahmedabad and National Assembly Bangladesh share this common architectural trait. Neo-Gothic design elements, facades with large geometrical openings, glass and steel facades, and none of these. So this is how Ahmedabad looks like. This is located in Ahmedabad, Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, one of the most prime institutes of management in India. And it was constructed in 1961. It was designed by Louis I. Kahn, and he recognized the link between India's ancient architecture and surviving traditional big technology plus labor-intensive construction. So for this project for IIM Ahmedabad, he took in account the traditional brick technology, the load-bearing structures that we used to have, and labor-intensive construction, because India didn't have much technological machines over here, but so any kind of construction had to be really labor intensive, which means it was really highly dependent on laborers. And IIM Ahmedabad is built in brick on a scale not possible elsewhere. So it was the first building to be built in completely brick at this scale, which was not done anywhere else at that time. This is National Assembly of Bangladesh. It is located in Dhaka. It was built in 1961 to 82. It was designed by Louis I. Kahn too. In this building, you can see again, you can see the monumental scale over here, and you can see in IIM Ahmedabad he has used exposed bricks. In National Assembly Bangladesh, he has used exposed concrete, which is an example, which makes this an example of brutalism. However, you can see very clearly the use of plain facade, but with typical geometrical shapes. Here you can see in National Assembly Bangladesh the use of circles, semicircles, triangles, and in IIM Ahmedabad you can see semicircles and circles being used over here. So the similarities between IIM Ahmedabad and National Assembly Bangladesh is that same kind of architectural techniques were used in both the buildings. In both the cases, there is a combination of local materials, brick and concrete, and large geometrical facades to honor the vernacular architecture in Indian subcontinent. Kahn's method of blending modern architecture and tradition, which is typical for a modern Indian building. Monumental simplicity in stark facades. So monumental in the sense that these are really massive, these have monumental scale. Simplicity because there is hardly any ornamentation in these buildings and they are plain facades. But stark facades because he has used huge geometrical shapes to create openings in these facades, which makes this a very stark facade. Facade with large geometrical openings and use of light and shadow in the architecture. So our answer is facades with large geometrical openings, because both are the work of Louis I. Kahn. They have very similar vibes in a lot of ways, although their main material, the main look is very different, because in IIM Ahmedabad exposed brick has been used, and in National Assembly Bangladesh exposed concrete has been used. So our answer is facades with large geometrical openings. Moving on to our next question. Which of these architects has not contributed to the design of IIM Ahmedabad campus? Louis I. Kahn, Anant Raje, Bimal Patel, or Laurie Baker. So this is the plan of IIM Ahmedabad. So if you see the road going in between, so on the left side of the road is the old campus, and on the right side of the road is the new campus, and both these campuses are actually connected by an underpass under the road. Rather than going for an overpass which goes above the road, they went for an underpass which connects both these campuses. So on the left hand side is the old campus, and on the right hand side of the road is the new campus. So left hand side part, old campus, is this. And if you go in this plan, so the marking in white is actually the original campus by Louis Icahn, and then the marking in grey is the campus extensions which were later made by Anantaraje. So original campus by Louis Icahn, it was designed until 1974, and campus extensions by Anantaraje is from 1969 to 1999. So this is the old campus part, and in which center you see, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. So down below if you see, so that is the academic block, and behind that, that's the student block, and the rest of the part over here is the faculty housing. And the gray part in this plan is all campus extensions, in which you can see the main buildings have been highlighted in dark gray over here, which were the several buildings that Anantaraje made in this campus. Now coming to new campus, this new campus was designed by Bimal Patel. Again, it has dormitories, lecture halls, and housing. And the main difference between these two campuses, new campus and old campus, is that the old campus was made in all exposed brickwork, while the new campus was all exposed concrete work majorly. So in the old campus, Anantaraje took precision after Louis Icahn. Anantaraje was also working as the site architect with Louis Icahn during the initial stage, but later he also designed a few buildings in the campus. So he took over the philosophy of Louis Icahn completely. He went with exactly how Louis Icahn goes with his designs, his philosophies, his ideas, his concepts, and designed the other buildings in a similar way, and planned and the use of materials in the facade and the style, the use of brise-soleil, the use of exposed brickwork, all those were incorporated by Anantaraje. However, in the new campus of IIM Ahmedabad, which was designed by Bimal Patel took the principles in consideration, which Louis Icahn's original design principles in consideration, but he didn't exactly copy or imitated the whole thing. He rather designed this campus in his own style. However, he included the use of Louis Icahn's philosophies. For example, he used it in planning by orienting these dormitory blocks diagonally like this, and use of shading devices and other concepts. So our answer is Laurie Baker. So which of the architects has not contributed to the design of IIM Ahmedabad? It is Laurie Baker, because Louis Icahn, Anantaraje, and Bimal Patel, all three have worked on different parts of the campus of IIM Ahmedabad. Coming to question number 7, Christopher Benninger became the first head of department 1972 of SPA Delhi, CEPT Ahmedabad, Sir J.J. College of Architecture Mumbai, or CCA Chandigarh. I don't know if you can hear me or not. My screen has actually frozen. I'm just trying to figure out how to bring it back. My screen has frozen. I'll just figure it out, and I'll start the session again. Just give me 2 minutes for it to resume. Yeah, it has resumed back. Yeah. I hope the screen is visible again and it's moving again. Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so I'll continue. Um, so, CEPT, or the Center for Environment Planning and Technology, was established as the School of Architecture in 1962 by the Ahmedabad Education Society, AES. It was followed by a School of Planning. So first only School of Architecture was established, and then later School of Planning, School of Building Science and Technology, School of Interior Design were established slowly over the consecutive years. They were established with the aid from the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of Gujarat, and the Ford Foundation. B.V. Doshi was the founder director of the School of Architecture, Ahmedabad, from 1962 to 1972. Bernard Cohn, American educated Frenchman, he joined Doshi in co-directing CEPT Ahmedabad, and on the invitation of B.V. Doshi in 1971, Christopher Benninger resigned from his tenured post at Harvard. He shifted to Ahmedabad, India as a Ford Foundation advisor to Ahmedabad Educational Society, AES, and then he founded the School of Planning at that time and became the first HOD of School of Planning at CEPT. So our answer is CEPT Ahmedabad. So Christopher Benninger, he came to India on the invitation of B.V. Doshi, and he came here as the advisor of Ford Foundation, and then he later established School of Planning at CEPT University, and he also became the first HOD of School of Planning at CEPT University. So our answer is CEPT University. Moving to question number 8. In the design of CEPT Ahmedabad campus, to maximize flow of air while cutting the impact of sun, B.V. Doshi adopted which orientation of parallel base? So the question is asking that in the design of CEPT Ahmedabad campus, in order to maximize the flow of air and also to cut the harsh sun that we get in Ahmedabad, because it is located in the west side of the country, it has hot and dry climate, and it gets really hot summers, so it's really important to cut sun in Ahmedabad. So which orientation did B.V. Doshi adapt uh, in the design of parallel bays? I'll just explain what parallel bays are. Excuse me. Okay, so different orientations have been mentioned here: north south, east west, northeast southwest, northwest southeast. So coming back to our answer. So if you can see, this is the plan of the one of the blocks of SEPTA. I'm so sorry, it's again getting problematic. Sorry. So in the plan given below, you can see that there's this block, and the blue arrow that I have marked down there is the north. So you can see these blocks, and then you can see that they have been partitioned with um walls in the direction, in the parallel to the north south axis. So this is what is being called as parallel bay. So bay in architecture basically means a space between two vertical surfaces. So any kind of that area is called a bay. So in by bay, what is being meant in this question is in the entire block. So they have been divided uh, with the help of partition walls, which creates different kinds of parallel bays. These are all parallel bays. So this was done as uh, an option for the modularity in the building, so that in future, if there was a need for an extension, these parallel bays could just be added and it would be the design of the building. So why did he go for so our answer is that these divisions, they are actually, if you see at this plan, you can see that it is in the direction parallel to north south. So our answer is north south. But why it was done, I'll just quickly explain. So in tropical climates like India, long facades of buildings are usually oriented towards north south. Why it is done is because I have added this image also below. So what happens is when you have the longer facade towards north and south, so because north does not get any direct sunlight, especially in India, north facade does not get any direct sunlight. We only get indirect diffuse light or indirect light. So there is no direct penetration of sun, which is why north facade can be used for windows for maximum getting the light inside the building. While the south facade, you need to provide breeze solil or shading devices or chhajjas or other kinds of, any kind of shading device is needed to be provided on the south facade, which can cut off the summer harsh sun, because south gets the most summer sun. But in countries like India, where most places we have composite climate, we need also heat during winter. So the winter sun actually, for example, if you can see this image, you can see that the summer sun path goes at a different orientation and the winter sun path goes at the different orientation. So what happens is that the south facade, if given proper shading device, it can shield it from the harsh summer sun. However, when the path of the sun will actually go lower, then the sun rays can actually penetrate the shading device and get inside the window. So that is why this orientation is preferred in places where you need to maximize both the summer and winter sun in different ways. So north facades lets you get the light in without any direct heat gain, because we don't get any direct sun exposure from north facade, and south facade can be utilized in winters, and it can be also made functional in summer with the help of shading devices. So that's why it is done that way. And also buildings should be aligned perpendicular to the prevailing wind direction to facilitate maximum airflow and cross ventilation through the building. So in any direction the building, the air is, the prevailing wind airflow is, so the building should always be aligned perpendicular to the prevailing wind, and because that maximizes the airflow. And in case of Ahmedabad, the prevailing wind is from the west direction and southwest direction, which is almost perpendicular to this orientation that has been given over here, and which is why this orientation makes sense both in terms of sun and wind. So our answer is north-south orientation. The design of the following building is not influenced by the design philosophy of Louis I. Khan. Modern School, Vasant Vihar, New Delhi. Chinmaya Mission Center, Ahmedabad. EDII Ahmedabad, Lotus Temple, New Delhi. So the question is asking that the design of the following building is not influenced by the design philosophy of Louis I. Khan. Our options are these four. We'll quickly go through how these four buildings look like and who designed them. First is Modern School, Vasant Vihar, New Delhi. It was designed by Sachdev, Eggleston and Associates in 1974 to 1978. So when you look at this building, you can see very well that it has been highly inspired by Louis I. Khan's work at IIM Ahmedabad. You can see the use of semicircles, arches, the use of huge circular openings, exposed brickwork. Even the masking is very similar to Louis I. Khan. So this is definitely inspired by Louis I. Khan's work. Next is Chinmaya Mission Center. So it's an NGO and they have centers in a lot of places. This was designed by Mahendra Kothari in 1975 to 79. And if you can see that, you can actually see that it also has exposed brickwork in it, and the use of geometrical forms and planar facades and lack of ornamentation. So this is also inspired by Louis I. Khan's work, especially at IMA. Then this is Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, EDII. This was designed by Bimal Patel in 1987. The EDII was established to augment country's supply of entrepreneurs through education and training. Complex of the entire campus includes a complex of brick structures organized around a main courtyard and several small outdoor spaces. So you can see the use of exposed brickwork over here, the use of deep corridors, small outdoors, various small outdoor spaces, and all these factors over here. So this design, you can see that it is also influenced by Louis I. Khan's work. Next is Lotus Temple. So Lotus Temple is a Baha'i house of worship. It is open to all, regardless of religion or any other qualification. Lotus Temple was opened to the public in December 1986. It was designed by an Iranian architect, Fariborz Sabba, and he won many awards for the project. So if you look at Lotus Temple, it is the structural form resembles a lotus over here. You can see the use of geometric shapes and the shells of Lotus Temple are made of concrete. So this, if you see that it is a very standalone structure, very different in its architecture and style, and it is nowhere similar to Louis I. Khan's work. So our answer is Lotus Temple, New Delhi. So the question was asking which is not influenced by the design philosophy of Louis I. Khan. So it's Lotus Temple, New Delhi, because Lotus Temple, New Delhi operates on a very different philosophy, although I'm not very clear what philosophy it really operates on. However, if you would like to, then I can find it out. Coming to the last question of the session, which of the following at IIM Ahmedabad campus is not designed by Anant Raje? Which of the following at IIM Ahmedabad campus is not designed by Anant Raje? Dining Hall 1979, New Campus 2001-09, Ravi Mathai Center, 1989. Management Development Center, 1982. So, architect Anant D. Raje contributed significantly to the development of the main campus of IIM Ahmedabad, first as the on-site architect representing Louis Icon and later with his own creations. He designed the Students' Mess, Kasturba Lalbhai Management Development Center (MDC), and Ravi J. Mathai Auditorium. He is a graduate of Sir J. J. School of Art, 1954. He moved to Ahmedabad in 1957 and worked in partnership with the B.V. Doshi. Rajay then worked, who was also his schoolmate. Rajay then worked with Louis Kahn at his Philadelphia office from 64 to 69, and before returning to India to oversee the design and construction of IIM Ahmedabad campus. So Raji worked with Louis Icon, and he was the on-site architect who was representing Louis Icon for IIM Ahmedabad. And he also later designed these three buildings, which includes the Students' Mess, Kasturbhai Lalbhai Management Development Center, and Ravi Mathai Auditorium. After Khan's death in March 1974, after Louis I. Khan died, Rajay became IIM Ahmedabad's lead architect, and he was associated with IIM Ahmedabad till 2003. So as we saw in the previous question also, that the old campus of IIM Ahmedabad, so in center we have Louis I. Khan's designed and planned buildings and planned campus, and then we have various other buildings surrounded by Anant Raje's creations. He followed very closely the philosophy of Louis I. Khan with the use of deep brise-soleils, exposed brickwork, and others. He taught at the School of Architecture at the Center of Environmental Planning and Technology, CEPT Ahmedabad, and various other universities in Europe, United States, and India. He was the recipient of Indian Institute of Architects Baburao Mahatre Gold Medal and CEPT's Architecture Distinguished Professor Award. So our answer is new campus 2001 to 2009, because Anant Raje designed the dining hall, Ravi Mathai Center, which is an auditorium, and MDC Management Kasturbhai Lalbhai Management Development Center. The new campus of Ahmedabad is actually designed by Vimal Patel. So this is it for today. So if anyone has any doubts, you can please leave your questions in the chat box. I would try to answer the questions as per my full capacity. In case I will not be able to answer any of the questions, I would research on the question asked more, and I would give you the proper answer in the next class. So if anybody has any doubts, you can please ask in the chat box. Okay, Rashmi. We'll wait on the call for, I'll wait on the call for 20-25 minutes. If anybody has any questions, you can write it in the chat box. You're welcome. So if anyone has any doubts, please ask your questions in the chat box. I will try to answer as per my capacity and knowledge. In case I fail to answer any of the questions, I would answer them in the next class. So if anybody has any questions, please ask them. As there are no questions from anyone, we are ending the session now. Thank you so much for everyone joining. I will end the session now. Thank you.